Okay, I'm all ready and set up to bloom and pre-color some baking soda. The colorant I'm using is this FD&C yellow number 5 dye, and this is from Nurture Soap. And I'm gonna take exactly 1 teaspoon of distilled water. Gonna put that in this mini measure. These come in handy to do a lot of different projects and things. I'm not actually using it to measure, I'm just using it to hold and mix for the time being. So I have my 1 teaspoon of distilled water in there, and to that I'm going to add 1/16 of this yellow number 6 dye. Dyes are very, very strong. In some cases, this might be too much, but I'm gonna start with this amount and then pay attention and take good notes and adjust it later if I need to. So that's exactly 1/16 of a teaspoon of this yellow number 5 dye. And drop it right in here. And I'm just going to use this little thing here to stir it up. You can see there's a couple little clumps there, so just take a few seconds to mix it in really well. You can already tell this one doesn't quite look as dark as the blue and the green that I tried. All right, so that looks really nice. Looks nice and clear. Can you see that? No clumps or weirdness. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to add it to the baking soda. Put that aside for a moment. On my scale here, I have a glass bowl with a sifter. I'm going to turn on my scale and tear it out with all that in there. Just hit the TARE button. And I'm going to weigh in 1 cup of baking soda. I'm not going to be too particular about leveling it off because my 1 cups of baking soda come out to about 9.5. So I'm just going to use the weight so that it's more accurate. And I don't have to worry about having it perfectly leveled. 9.50 on my scale. And I'm just going to sift it in. Trying not to breathe the little particles that are coming up into the air. And I want to also be paying attention to my final number. I want to make sure it's 9.5 after it's been sifted. It usually is. And I need to make sure to put the sifter back on there. It's actually 9.55, a little bit more. So I'm just going to take a pinch out, and that's all I needed to put that back. Okay, 9.50. I write that down on my Fizzy worksheet recipe that I've taken 9.5 ounces of baking soda and I'm blooming it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the sifter, move that away, and I'm going to move my scale out of the way as well. Okay. So here's my color. I'm basically just going to add it right into the baking soda. I'm just going to start stirring. You don't have to worry about at this point anything fizzing on you because it's just baking soda. There's no acid in there to react with it, which is exactly why we're doing it just to the baking soda, not to the baking soda and citric acid. So the only downside to doing this, doing it this way, where you bloom your baking soda, is that you have to wait for it to dry out. I thought I could kind of hurry that process along, and sure enough, my fizzies were too moist and they started to fizz before I wanted them to. So that's not a good thing. So basically I just have one gloved hand here, which is the one that would get all stained up if I didn't have a glove on there. So I'm just going around and mixing. And you can see when I kind of smear it, you can see it's getting darker. Can you see that? And around the edges, it's still a bit lighter. So you want to just keep mixing. It just takes a couple of minutes. You can use a hand mixer for this, a little electric beater type of thing. It tends to make a mess on me. Maybe my electric beater has too high of a low setting. I think that might be the case. So it doesn't take very long to mix this by hand anyway. So I'm just mixing with one hand, mixing with one spoon, and you can use any type of spoon for this. Just make sure it's not going to get stained permanently by the color, by the dye. And it's looking like a really pretty yellow at this point. It's almost the color of, like, I guess I would say like an egg yolk. And it does kind of clump together. It won't hold together, but it is clumping a little bit. So this is what we want to see. We want to see the color getting brighter, darker. We want to see the color not having any streaks. If you look in here, I can see, you can see right here, right there in front of my fingernail, in front of my finger, there's some sort of moist patches that look darker yellow. You want to keep mixing until you don't see anything that looks like a darker color. And it doesn't take too long, again, like I said, probably no more than 5 minutes total, especially if you're not talking and you're just focusing on it. And once I get this to the place where I feel like there's no streaking, there's no little bits of color that aren't mixed in, I'm really just going to leave this overnight to dry. And then it'll be ready for me to use tomorrow or the next day. All right, let's go ahead and check it. I'm going to press it down, which makes it easier to see. See if we can see any inconsistencies. It actually looks pretty even to me. Oh, there's a little bit right there. I don't know if you can see that. So that just means about 1 more minute of mixing, and then we'll be good to go. You could also get in here with a whisk. This is a little whisk tool. I don't know where I got this, but you could mix this up. You could use any size little mini whisk or even a slightly bigger whisk. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. It's like a nice yellow color, and it will be great for lemon scented bath bombs, lemon verbena, lemon cream. I have a couple of really good scents that I think this will go nicely with. Lemon meringue, anything like that. Okay, so I'm basically done. Just gonna leave this for at least 12 hours, maybe 24. And then when I'm ready to make my bath bombs, I just mix this in with the rest of my ingredients.